This summer, we sailed 1,000 nautical miles along the east side of Vancouver Island. We traveled from almost the southern tip to almost the northern tip and back. We went as far south as Finlayson Arm and as far north as Wells Passage. All on our 40-foot sailboat we had only owned for a few months. This is a long video, but I've added chapters for each question so you can easily jump ahead if you don't feel like watching the whole thing. Please drop any more questions you have in the comments below and we will answer them in a live video next week. Enjoy. So we're currently on Newcastle Island. Again. Like the, fourth time this year?
We're at Newcastle because it's a convenient place for us to have a vehicle, be able to anchor up safely, and to be able to get stuff. So we're working on getting things for our refit and sorting out stuff. So we've got good internet here, we've got lots of local
Stores?
Like the chandleries here, all the steel shops and everything are right in the area.
So I'm a wedding photographer mostly as my job, usually, but because of COVID and because of this trip, it's kind of been a weird year. So I decided to book off June till September from weddings. So our haul out for our boat isn't until October 13th, but we had to be back here by mid-September because my weddings were starting again. So Nanaimo's been a good spot that we can keep our boat safe and sound. It's not super expensive because we don't have to be at a marina. We could actually be on the hook, but we're at a mooring buoy just because it's like safer as we're running back and forth. We don't have to worry about the wind so much if we're on a mooring. Yeah, so it's just like a good central spot for us. But obviously being back here means that our summer adventure exploring north of here, north of home, is over. So because of that, we wanted to sit down and kind of do like a recap video of the summer because this was a really big summer for us. So if you've been watching our channel from the beginning, you know that we love to adventure, we love to be out exploring new places. We moved to Ireland so we could do that. We came back from Ireland, bought a sailboat so we could do that. We bought a different sailboat so we could do that. And then we bought another sailboat so we could do that. And the third sailboat is the only one that's really brought us to that adventure. And that was this past summer. So it's been a long time coming. It's been, what is this? This is like our third year that we've been trying to make this dream of like traveling and adventuring a reality. So yeah, it's been big. I asked you guys a bunch of questions online, which you may or may not have seen. It was on Instagram and Facebook and our Patreon. I asked you guys kind of questions that you might have about our adventures this summer and what you might want to know, as well as what I think is interesting about traveling in this adventure. So we're going to kind of answer some of those questions. So our overall feeling about the summer.
I don't know, it's hard to say. It actually felt like the start of something, even though we knew the whole time we'd be coming back to do this refit, which is hopefully the last major refit we're going to be doing for quite some time.
Fingers crossed, knock on wood. This is the last big one for a while.
Because although it's nothing like Nordic was, it is going to be a fairly big refit because well, I don't know if I want to spoil that.
Yeah, we've been talking about it.
Okay, well next year we are planning to go up northern BC at the very least and overwinter there, which isn't something people generally think of doing.
Yeah, we're actually going farther north for the winter, which obviously is the opposite of what most people do. Most people are like, let's go south, let's go where it's warmer, and we're like, let's go where it's wetter and rainier, and there's more snow. So,
but that opens up a lot of opportunities for us.
Yeah, it does. Not only for like sailing and exploring, but also for probably work opportunities. So our plan is to hopefully get to Prince Rupert, which is like kind of the most northern city before you hit the coastal Alaska region. And we're going to hopefully work for the winter there, save up some more money, and then keep cruising. cruise that area, hopefully keep cruising north into Alaska. We'll see how it goes. So what was our favorite part and least favorite part about the adventure this summer?
Well, for me, my favorite part was just exploring new places. It was just phenomenal. Like, there was all these places I didn't even know existed. There was all these little communities I didn't know existed, even though some of them are seasonal. And the people that we met along the way was awesome. Like, it was just such a good experience. And then my least favorite thing, probably Johnstone Strait, to be honest. Like, we had
stressful bit of water.
Yeah, we had a couple of good days for sure, but there was a lot of stress involved, and it's especially in a new boat to us, and we did have issues both directions, actually. So
Yeah.
it's just not a very forgiving place. It was kind of stressful, and yeah, we definitely felt the stress.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think my favorite part of the trip, honestly, was being able to just kind of disconnect from all the stress of society and being able to be out in nature and connect more deeply to nature and kind of get like nature healing from being out there. It was a really big deal to just be able to kind of disconnect from social media, from family drama, from like friends, just everything, being able to just be on our own and be able to kind of reconnect with myself, I guess, through that. Like, I feel like a lot of the things that I kind of felt like I was missing in the past few years and the stress that I'd been feeling and holding in my body, a lot of that kind of disappeared, and I was able to kind of reconnect with the things that I love to do and kind of with myself again. And that was because we were out in nature in these really remote places that literally was not another person. Like, there was just us and Marty and May, and that was it. Yeah, and that was huge. And I'm still trying, now that we're back in civilization, it was like we got back here and I instantly felt like the change being back in Nanaimo. So I'm trying to figure out how to kind of integrate what we were able to gather through that process into regular everyday life. And yeah, so that's a process as well, but I'm feeling really grateful for being able to have that experience of disconnecting from society while reconnecting to nature in a deeper way. And my least favorite part, I think, was, yeah, probably also Johnstone Strait. I don't know, actually I think my least favorite part was like not feeling like we knew the boat well enough to kind of do what we wanted to do, and I know that's just kind of part of the process. There's not anything that we could have done differently about that. We could have decided to stick around here and just kind of bummed around and done short sails instead of like taking this big adventure, but I don't think we wouldn't have learned as much about the boat if we'd done that. It's just growing pains. It's part of the process of being uncomfortable and in a new space, because like obviously sailing's still pretty new to us. We've only been sailing for 2 years, and then on top of that it's a complicated boat, and it's a fairly big boat, and it's a lot of boat. So we're learning on every level as we're going through this boat, and that can be extremely overwhelming.
But honestly, like, that wasn't our goal for this, and that's probably one of the other questions as well. Moving into that, because our goal wasn't so much to continue to learn sailing and all that. Like, we're good enough to get from point A to point B. That's totally fine.
As long as we plan for the weather.
We might not be the most graceful in doing so.
No.
But our biggest goal was to learn how to can food, store food, catch fish, crab, all that kind of stuff, and to be able to prepare meals and really do all of this with what we have and make a list for what we need for next year.
Yeah.
And just basically learn the whole thing. Canning, pickling, yeah.
What veggies last and which ones don't, and how they last together or don't.
What we need to get this winter to make sure the next summer is going to be good.
Yeah, all those things for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, comments on this boat and our decision to buy her. So that what we're feeling about the boat now that we've had her for a few months.
Yeah.
First off, how long have we had her? We bought her in March, so we've had Paparumba for 6 months now. Not very long.
Yeah, it isn't very long.
We've done a lot in that 6 months.
Yeah.
And I think the main question that everybody has asked is, are we still happy with the boat? And we're still happy that we bought her, and it is 100% yes.
Yep.
She's great. Even with the work we have to do to her this winter, yeah, I'm still stoked on her. She sails beautifully. She's comfortable to live on, nice and bright. Obviously with every boat there's things that you wish were different, but nothing is like a deal breaker. Nothing is like making our life super difficult or anything. It's just small things and then projects that are big that we have to do to make her safe. But that's just like unfortunate maintenance on a steel boat. It's issues that pretty much every steel boat has, so it's not really a big surprise.
Yeah, and we're just trying to get, well, some of the stuff is getting pretty far gone, but we're trying to do preventative this winter so that by next winter it's not completely toast.
Why we chose our locations. So there's a lot of different reasons that we chose our locations this trip. The southern locations we chose kind of just because it was places that we'd wanted to go and places that we'd heard a lot of good stuff about.
And places that were convenient.
That too, yeah. And then up north, the main thing that we did was follow Marty and May's ideas. So Marty and May have been sailing the coast here for like, I don't know, 15 years or something, maybe even longer than that, sailing up and down the coast from Prince Rupert all the way down to Victoria. So they have seen a lot, and they know a lot of awesome places. They've tested out anchorages. They know a lot of what's good and what's not good for anchoring, and what's beautiful and what is kind of a waste of time. So we followed their lead a lot when we were up north.
And then of course we had like our stopovers like Campbell River and Port McNeill and Sointula. Sointula is just really cool anyways. It's definitely something to see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, places we could reprovision, get water, get fuel.
Yep.
Have showers.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are important.
And then obviously, they are important. And then obviously a lot of the planning had to do with wind and stuff like that and where we were going to be protected from the wind. And the wind all summer blew northwest.
Just about, yep.
Yeah, there was like maybe 2 days where it was like southeast, and there was a few days where there was like zero wind, but if there was wind, it was blowing northwest. The best places for the dog.
Best dog places. Oh man, I think in the Broughtons there really isn't a lot of good places. It was pretty subpar, like not a lot of beaches or anything to walk on, rocky shores.
Just not like a lot of space to walk the dog, and a lot of it was really muddy.
Yeah, it's fine if you've got a small dog that doesn't really need long walks and a lot of exercise, or like, you know, a lazy dog.
Yeah, Max is not those things.
But we're lucky in the fact that or he's lucky I guess, in the fact that we just randomly hike through the bushes a lot, carrying, of course, bear spray and bear bangers and knives.
Yeah.
Because that's important.
We went to like logging roads. Spots with logging roads are probably the best spots for the dog because you can kind of you can't really let him run because of the bears, but you can walk him for a longer period of time. So the places that had logging roads that were good were Potts Lagoon, Napier Bay, and Mackenzie Sound.
We also found some hiking trails.
Oh, and Turnbull Cove too.
Yeah,
to the
Turnbull was great because we could hike him over to the lake and you could go swimming there. The water was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. And then there was a few places where we just hiked on game trails, which were really good, but I don't know if I would highly suggest that.
Yeah, if you're not used to hiking through the bush, maybe don't follow our trails on those ones.
And
it's really easy to kind of lose your bearings when you're in the forest and get lost, so yeah. Oh, also the Thurston Bay area has quite a few little trails and stuff, and there's a lot of like rocky beach to walk the dog on there actually. So I think, yeah, like Chameleon Bay, in between Hanfield and No Name Lagoon, Little Thurston Bay, that area actually was probably the best area for the dog.
Yeah, because the trails were half decent.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of beach. Like there's a lot of space where you could see, if a bear was coming, you'd be able to see the bear from a distance because there's just so much beach. We didn't even see any bears there anyway. We didn't even really see signs of bears, which is kind of surprising. But
they generally aren't interested in people.
No. But yeah, I think that was probably the best area. And then in the Broughtons, just anywhere there was logging roads. But there's a lot of stories of dogs being taken by cougars. So it's recommended to keep your dog on a leash, or at least to keep the dog close by, because you gotta keep an eye out for the big kitties.
Yeah, and just keep your head on a swivel was basically it. Like if you're not looking around and you're thinking that you're gonna be safe, then maybe don't go to these places.
Yeah, keep your wits about you, because you're dealing with wild animals and there's no cell service out there.
Biggest surprise. Take one.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I gotta think on that one.
Okay, I think the biggest surprise to me of the trip was how freeing it was to not have any cell service. And anybody who's watching this who hangs out with me, you know how surprising that is for me to say, because I unfortunately spend a lot of time on my phone. Yeah, and I thought I'd kind of be more bothered by not having like the phone to connect with people, but it wasn't. It was more freeing than anything. I think the scariest thing about the trip was losing our steering really close to a cliff with a fish on the line and the wind blowing us into the cliff.
Steering broke. Put it in reverse.
That was not a good time. I mean, we learned a lot. We learned way more about the boat in those few moments than we would have otherwise, and I'm grateful for that. But yeah, I would not highly recommend doing that again. That was much too close for comfort with the danger level on that one.
Less than ideal for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you?
What was the question?
The most surprising thing for you on this trip.
Oh yeah, the biggest surprise for me. There's so many things I don't even know.
You can list them all, you can go.
Yeah.
Beginning to end, I can speed it up.
Well, the biggest surprise was probably just the sense of community that's out on the water. I mean, we've always gotten that everywhere we've gone down here, but when you get into the small communities, people are just generally good. Everybody helps everybody, and you know, you don't really, it's not as awkward as asking for help somewhere else if you need a hand.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a tight-knit community.
Yeah, everybody kind of like shares tips and tricks and their experiences, and everybody is friendly. Well, mostly everybody's friendly. I like to describe the boating community, and particularly the sailing community, as kind of like a small town that's all spread out. So if you've ever spent time in like a small rural, especially farming town, it's like everybody's willing to lend a hand when you need it, because you know that you're going to need people at some point too, and you depend on each other for your survival and for keeping your life moving. And so yeah, that's just what it feels like, is like the boating community feels like a small town, but everybody's spread out. So that's kind of cool.
You know what, the scariest thing for me was actually when we were anchored up by Green Rapids. and we were on shore and we saw our boat shooting by without us on it. That was pretty scary. I think that's going to be in a video, isn't it?
It's in the video, yeah.
Yeah, it's already.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah, we didn't actually catch that moment on film, but we did talk about it.
Like there was really large currents that exposed a reef at one end of an anchorage around an island, and we were in between this island and another island, and the water built up on one side of the reef higher than the other, like quite a bit higher, and then when it came over really quickly. It was at the change of a current too, and the boats just went from being hard out one way to all the way the other way on the anchor, and it was
really quick.
Yeah,
really quick.
The sketchiest thing I think I've ever seen our boat do without us on it.
Yeah.
And it was terrifying.
It's not ideal. Yeah. So we won't be anchoring there again.
Yeah, and I think it's looking on Navionics and stuff, nobody mentions any of this, and I think it's just because we were there on these super huge tides. Like it was below chart datum.
Yeah.
That night, or that day, yeah. So I don't think it happens regularly, but well, we learned something new.
We sure did. We learned a lot about currents this year. A lot about currents and water, and yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
It's a weird place. How much motoring versus sailing was done?
Well, I can answer that quickly. There was more motoring done than
A lot.
sailing. A lot more.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is a lot of it is our inexperience with currents. Even though we live where we live, we've not really gone out to these places and checked it out. Some of the days we had favorable wind, the current was against us even though it said it wasn't supposed to be. There's a lot of places that you absolutely have to get to at a certain point in time, and there's nowhere to anchor up on either side, and you literally just have to be there at the right time, otherwise you're just sitting out there motoring around in circles waiting.
Yeah. Or getting pushed towards things you don't want to run into or whatever. And there's also there was a lot of days when there wasn't any wind, or it wasn't enough to really sail with.
We generally get southeasters in the spring and summer, and this year it was all northwest. So anytime we had to go north or west, we were pretty much, the wind funnels into every one of these small channels, and that's what we were in the whole time, and it's always on the nose.
Yeah, so we did a lot of like motoring in the morning to get to places that we wanted to get to because the winds were light or non-existent in the morning and then would build throughout the day. And then also we were moving with current and trying to plan with current, so.
And then you've got the tall mountains too, and they have like microclimates, so you get localized winds and lack of winds, I guess. And when you should have the wind going in your favor, it's not.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely more motoring than sailing, but I think we did more sailing than we expected to do still, because we'd heard so many stories about how much motoring you end up doing when you're traveling north, and we had a few days of really good sailing that I didn't think we were going to get any days of good sailing. Like when we sailed from Port McNeill to Sunday Harbor, that was an awesome day of sailing. We sailed back out of Mackenzie Sound. That was also an awesome day of sailing. Okay, anything we would change if we did it again?
I don't know if I would change much. I think I would try to sail more, because now we're getting quite a bit more comfortable where it's like we can go into 20 knots, 25 knots, and we know what sail plan we need to have up. Whereas we didn't really at the start, and we got caught out a couple of times that was pretty uncomfortable.
Definitely.
But that's all part of learning a new boat.
So that's kind of the end of this this question and answer for you guys, this wrap-up video, but we are gonna do a live video coming up in a few days. So we're gonna do a live video. This is coming out on Friday. We're doing a live video on Thursday to answer more of your questions. So if you have any more questions from the trip, or if you have any more questions that came up in this video, just drop them in the comments below and we'll do our best to answer them. Because we're doing this video in September.
You're just going on and on, I can't wait.
Okay. Logan had to go to the bathroom. So we're doing this video right now, this wrap-up video in September, but obviously all of these videos are coming out until like February. So that means that when I asked people for questions for this video, most people hadn't seen most of the footage. And I'm the only one actually who had seen all the footage, and obviously Logan. So I'm sure there's more questions that have come out of the videos as you guys have watched them, and probably from watching this video as well. So we will try to answer as many of those questions as we can in the live Q&A. So just drop any of those questions that you might have in the comments below. And also, we are obviously in the boatyard right now in real time doing boat projects. So if you want to be in real time with our videos and know what we're actually physically up to right now, that is also on Patreon. So what I am doing is giving you guys weekly updates on what our project is, kind of showing you the boat, showing you where we're at, where we're planning on going. Yeah, so if you're interested in being up to date on where we're at in real time instead of kind of seeing the videos from the summertime, you can see that in Patreon as well. And you only have to pledge $1 a month to get those videos, but you can pledge as much as you want, and we appreciate everyone that is in there. We love to build the community too. We're not just doing it to make extra money. We want to build a community, we want to engage with you guys, we want to have direct relationships, so it's really nice to kind of have that community of people engaging and that are contributing to what we're doing, because I put a lot of time and effort into these videos, and it's really nice to kind of have that feedback and know that you guys are interested enough in our lives and in what we're doing and in the knowledge and information that we're sharing, that you're willing to give us a little bit of extra money to help us out with that. So yeah, link for Patreon is down below, and if we don't see you in that live, we'll catch you next week in the next video.